What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a continuation of the how-to series, now talking about Photon. I'm going to try something a little different with this video in particular, and please let me know if you prefer this format or the original format where I go through the entire champion kit, then we do the offense and defense rotation. This format, this specific video, I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to jump right into the gameplay and explain things prior to doing the fights, and I'll do the same thing for the defensive showcase. So, Photon, as many of you are probably well aware, is one of the best dual threats in the entire game. Such an incredibly powerful defender and an incredibly powerful attacker as well. We're going to start off with one of her best matchups, that is Rintra. So, Photon is immune to Neutralize as well as, I believe, Power Steal. Now, she's only immune to Neutralize with the signature ability. It's a very important thing to note, one of the things I'll mention early on is that she gains the immunity to Neutralize from her signature ability. I believe she's also immune to Bleed. Yes, Bleed and Power Steal. So she's immune to all Bleed effects and all Power Steal effects. So, now, knowing all that information, we're just going to jump right into the gameplay. On offense, Photon is relatively straightforward. You just hit the opponent and build up these charges on yourself, these pure light charges. Once you get to 25 for most standard matchups, I'll talk about the special 3 in just a little bit. Once you get to 25, you're going to enter Pure Light form, and that is going to grant you these Fury passives, and once you enter Pure Light form and you hit 25 of the light charges, it's going to start ticking down until you eventually get back to 0. You build up these charges by inflicting debuffs on the opponents. Let's just get right into the fight and see what that looks like. So as you can see, I'm going to go for a parry, and that's 1 charge. I'll go for another parry, that's 2 charges. Every time you inflict a debuff on the opponent, you will gain these charges. Now, Photon has a variety of ways to inflict these debuffs on the opponent. Using your light attacks will inflict these energy vulnerabilities. I believe your medium attacks will inflict the suppression, your first medium specifically. And then on defense, this is also reflective of the basic attack indicator. So you will inflict the the energy vulnerabilities if you are being struck, or if you are fighting Photon and striking her with those light attacks, she will inflict those debuffs on you as well, building up her charges. Now, as you can see, I punished Rintra's special 2 there, and that paused my pure light charges. That's something you'll notice. I'm going to do it right here. Punishing special attacks pauses your charges for about 3 seconds, I believe. And your charges are also paused during your special 2, although, however, not paused during your special 1. Your special 1 will inflict these energy overload debuffs, which just increase the burst damage that your basic attacks will deal. It deals an additional burst of energy damage, and the amount that you place on the opponent is doubled when you're in pure light. So I did a little bit of explaining there. That wasn't necessarily the fastest way that Rintra fight could go, but I feel that was a pretty well-formatted example of how a Photon Rintra fight should look, how all of the elements of the kit offensively come together. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like to fight a bigger health pool opponent and why you should be going for the special 3 when health pools get larger and larger. So, one thing before we move on to this next fight, you're going to notice right here for offense specifically, this is super crucial when fighting Photon. She has these persistent charges. These are persistent light charges that you carry over from fight to fight. So let's say, just like that fight I just did, I finished the fight by exiting pure light form, I finished the fight with having some charges left in pure light form. Those charges carry over to my next fight. So I should be starting this fight with, I believe, 13 charges. That should be how it works. Yes, exactly. So that just speeds up the ramp in a questing or a war scenario where you have multiple fights to use Photon. That's not great. You have multiple fights to use Photon, and you're going to be using her on an entire quest or like a war map. The persistent charges will make your life significantly easier for ramping up. So, as you just saw right there, I got knocked down by Rintra's special attack, and that pushed me into pure light form. That is something you're going to want to keep note of when fighting Photon on defense, is knocking her down or getting her to trigger pure light form, like intentionally and then waiting out the charges is going to be a very useful tactic for taking down Photon. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let my Pure Light Form expire, and now I'm going to throw my Special 3. What this is going to do is it's going to increase the maximum amount of Pure Light charges I can gain up to, I believe, 3 consecutive activations of the Special 3. So I believe this increases my charges by around 5 or 6. I'll get the exact number when I go into Pure Light form. But you're going to notice that once I hit 25 of the light charges, I'm not going to trigger Pure Light form immediately. I'm going to actually need more light charges, but the more charges I get, the more Furies I can potentially get, and the longer I will stay in Pure Light form. So we're building up. We have 22 now. We need to bait this special 1. And I'm going to do a little bit of debuff playing here. And now, as you can see, 30 charges, so I was correct in saying that it was 5. Now I have 6 Furies. And, of course, that number will go up and up. I believe the maximum amount of times you can benefit from the Special 3 cap increase is 3. If I'm incorrect, I will put a number on the screen right now to correct myself, but I believe you can use it 3 times to increase the count by 5. And Photon just has great damage. She's just such a powerhouse. And her damage comes from those Furies really boosting up the basic attacks and the special attacks. And if you're throwing special 1s, you can also benefit from the overload debuffs, dealing increased energy damage as additional bursts of damage every time you hit the opponent. So like I was saying, Photon is incredible for Enchantress. She has all of the tools in her base kit to counter a lot of the annoying defensive mechanics Enchantress brings to the table. Specifically, your first medium attack cannot miss. Or I believe your mediums in general cannot miss, and then when you're in Pure Light form, your mediums and all of your attacks cannot miss. As you can see, there was a miss failed right there. Enchantress tried to make me miss, but because my mediums can't miss, there's no need to worry about it with Photon. And then once I'm in Pure Light form, all of my attacks will be unable to miss. So, you still have to fight Enchantress fairly normally in this situation. But if you're decent at fighting Enchantress, and I promise you the how to fight Enchantress video is on the way, it is just taking a lot longer to find the time to actually get down and record that. Now I'm going to throw my special 2. I cannot miss. I'm going to bait a heavy attack. It's always good to counter the second hit of Enchantress's heavy attack, just in case. It gives you plenty of time to prepare for the spacing. Throw my special 2 again. Miss most of the projectiles from Enchantress's special 2 and go for a little intercept combo. And Photon handles that fight very, very well. Just over a minute there. I am using a rank 3 Photon instead of a rank 4 Photon. So if this was even playing fields, this fight would definitely be done in less than 60 seconds for sure. So the name of the game with Photon on offense is fairly simple. Inflict your debuffs by doing your basic combos and landing parries. Build up to 25 at a minimum if you haven't thrown a special 3 to enter Pure Light form, and throw special 2s and special 1s until Pure Light form is over, and then you restart the process. Now let's fight Photon on defense. Like I mentioned, she's an incredibly difficult defender, but she is not impossible. She has a lot of clear and very effective options, but there are also options that just work in general because of either their mechanics or playing around Photon's Pure Light form. So I'm going to grab Okoye, I'm going to grab Human Torch, I'm going to grab Nightcrawler to show off what I mean by playing around mechanics, I'm going to grab Stark Enhanced SpiderMan, and then I'm going to grab Bullseye. All 5 of these champions are incredibly effective for Photon, and I will show you why right now. So, I mentioned way earlier in the video that I got knocked down by Rintra's special 1, maybe intentionally, maybe not, and that knockdown triggered Pure Light form. Photon can trigger Pure Light form when she has 15 or more charges on defense when she throws a special attack, or 10 or more charges if you knock her down or bait her block and do the OG Nightcrawler trick where you throw a light attack into the air to force her to block, and then that will trigger her Pure Light form. So this first fight, I'm just going to show you what that looks like, triggering the Pure Light form from the whiffing the light attack, and why it's so useful. So Bullseye can't miss in general, which makes him incredibly good for Photon, because anytime Photon is stunned, she'll trigger that Untouchable passive. And obviously, Untouchable causes you to miss. She also gains block penetration for each debuff on the opponent, which makes her a lot more annoying on defense, especially if you need to parry. But as you can see right now, I'm going to bait a dash from Photon right there. And now I did the Nightcrawler trick. She's in pure light form right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait a hit, throw my special 2. This is not going to be the ideal matchup. I just wanted to show off what baiting the pure light form looks like. There's the relic, and then going for a full combo. And obviously, if I wasn't trying to show off the pure light form bait there, I would not have lost, 15% of my health. But even so, Bullseye handles Photon incredibly well. So using that trick to get Photon to trigger pure light form, and then she can exit it quicker than she would if you're to give her more charges, and then she enters it when she throws a special, that's a great way to manage Photon on defense. And even though the fight might take a little bit longer, even with a character like Bullseye, doing that baiting method and playing properly, and, again, I was blocking hits for sort of the educational purpose. Playing properly, you're going to finish fights in around this amount of time with high health because you're not taking any special attacks on the block or getting hit by an unblockable special too. So let me restart this fight now. Let me restart this quest and show you what a real Bullseye fight looks like against Photon and how I would do it in an actual situation or scenario. So Bullseye, you want to build up to around 2.5 bars of power, and ideally, you are not taking too many hits on the block. 1 or 2 parries at the start of the fight is fine, but the thing with Photon is those debuffs add up very quickly, as you can see. I already have over 5 of them on me right now, and the more debuffs I get on me, the more damage she's going to deal into my block with the pure light form. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do a full combo, and then I'm going to bait a block from Photon. Have to wait for her to dash back. Let her trigger pure light form. Now I'm just going to hit into her block a little bit. I'll parry. 1 special 1. That's not going to cost me too much health. In pure light form, you cannot trigger the Dexterity Mastery against Photon special attacks if you weren't already aware of that. So that's why you have to block them. You cannot, I'm sorry, I misspoke. You cannot trigger Dexterity against the final hit of Photon's special 1 specifically, I believe. Let me see. Let me just make sure I'm not spreading misinformation here. When she's in pure light form, special attacks cannot be avoided with Dexterity Master. Yes, so I was correct the first time. You have to block the final hit of her special 1 or parry it to be specific because it is unblockable unless it is well-timed blocked. If it's well-timed blocked, the final hit of her special 1 can be blocked, but in general, her special 1 cannot be dexed with the Dexterity Mastery in pure light form. So, like I mentioned, around 50 seconds for a fairly good Bullseye Photon fight. That's what you're going to expect. Other champions will have different time barometers, but before we get into looking at other champions, I do want to show off Nightcrawler. Characters like Nightcrawler and I believe Silk as well, who have access to dodging mechanics without the need for the Dexterity Mastery, can get around Photon's pure light form without needing to, without being punished by triggering Dexterity. So while Nightcrawler is not going to be the absolute fastest option for Photon, he is an incredibly safe option because he can consistently dex for special attacks. Now, as you can see, I took a lot of block damage there. One thing about Photon is you just do not want to take block hits from her. But Nightcrawler can get around the dexing, can get around the Dexterity punishment, ignore the hit that I just took blatantly to the face there. We're not going to worry about that. Right now, I'm just showing off Nightcrawler and his ability to get around the punishment for Dexterity being turned off in pure light form. I don't necessarily recommend Nightcrawler for Photon in most situations, although I think a rank 4 Nightcrawler would do fine. And that's probably worth a video, is a rank 4 Nightcrawler showcase. But Nightcrawler, he gets the job done. Inequity is also going to reduce your damage output with Nightcrawler here because he's solely relying on the guaranteed crits or the critical hits themselves from his special attacks and his basic attacks. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to show off that Nightcrawler has the capability to dex Photon special attacks without the need of using the Dexterity Mastery. So now let's show off champions that are going to be actually super useful for Photon. Let's start with Okoye. Okoye, as you're all probably very aware, is just such an absolute powerhouse on offense. And for Photon, makes no exception. She is immune to bleed, as I already mentioned, Photon, and so Okoye has to rely fully on her shocks and also the ensnare debuff that she inflicts on dexterity to get around some of Photon's mechanics. So now with Okoye, the goal is to build up to a special 2. Again, without blocking too many hits, you can sidestep Photon's medium with certain champions. If you're fast enough with certain champions, you can absolutely sidestep Photon's medium. See, I was slow there, but I was fast enough there. I need to block this special 1 from Photon. And now I'm going to go for another intercept combo. End on a light attack. Go for a special 2. Go for a little stand-up. And Okoye gets the job done against Photon in, I believe, around 40 seconds. Yeah, 45 seconds. If I would have properly managed the special 1 bait there, I would not have needed to have taken as much damage as I did. But regardless, you can expect a little bit of chip damage in a lot of Photon fights. It's just sort of the name of the game, especially with needing to block special attacks sometimes. So Okoye handles that fight very well. Now, let me show you what Stark Enhanced SpiderMan can do against Photon. He is fantastic for Photon. You build up to your 10 poise charges, and you just absolutely annihilate her. I'm also going to show off a Stealth Spider-Man as well. I'll show him off right after this. I won't show Torch off. I'll show off Stealth Spider-Man, because Stealth Spider-Man is also incredible for Photon. And it's just so strong, very easy to sidestep. Very similar to how Stark Spidey works for Photon. You want to build up your 10 poise charges, and then just go to town. Another benefit of using Stark Spidey is in pure light form. If you happen to push her to pure light form and need to block a special attack, Stark Spidey can use his auto evade to potentially evade the special attack. So, as you can see, Stark Spidey is just going to town here. I can bait one more special 1 without the need for Photon to be in pure light form. So now the next time I bait a special attack, Photon will be in pure light form. But the goal is to finish that fight before it even matters. And as you can see, rank 3 Stark Spidey handles Photon beautifully in just under 40 seconds, no damage taken, and that was a rank 3 Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. If you have the ability to get yourself a 7-star Stark Spidey, absolutely do so, because this champion is unbelievable. It's just such an incredible character. Now let me show you a couple more options. I'll show off Stealth Spidey, and I'll show off a few more options that I find to be incredibly effective for Photon. Let's grab Gladiator. Let's also grab Stealth Spidey, like I mentioned. I will give him a relic as well. We can just throw the Winter Soldier relic on, no problem. And then I can also grab Crossbones. Crossbones is a rank 2 7-star, but there is no big deal there. Oh, Silver Sable. Let me do Silver Sable over Crossbones, because Silver Sable is basically made for Photon. So, Stealth Spidey, kind of similar to Stark Spidey, but just a different way of ramping up. Stealthy needs to go for 2 light-ending combos and then a special 1, and you're basically fully ramped. Now, with Stealth Spidey, you want to ensure that you have the fragility, or the flashbang pre-fight active, because if you don't, you're going to be losing out on a lot of that damage. The flashbang is a fragility debuff, which increases your critical damage. So I'm going to go for a light ending combo. Gonna bait a dash from Photon here. There's the proper dash. Go for another light ending combo. Bait the special 1. Throw my special 1 to push her into pure light form. And then I'm going to wait pure light form out until the very end. This is another tactic, again, with fighting Photon. Is just waiting out the pure light form from a knockdown. And now I have the fragility up, I have my fury, I have my precision. I can sidestep Photon. That's a lot of block damage, but again, that sometimes happens. You just sort of have to accept that that is a possibility. Go for a little intercept there. full combo, and the Relic should be able to finish off the job. And Stealth Spidey handles that Photon, even as a 6-star rank 5 Ascended, in just under 60 seconds. Stealthy is amazing for Photon. Now let's show off Silver Sable against Photon, one of the better options for Photon. She has a lot of abilities in her kit that hard countered Photon's defensive threats, like for instance, her heavy attack cannot miss, and it applies a 100% disorient passive onto Science Champions, and of course Photon is Science. So now Photon cannot place any of her debuffs on us by us simply hitting her. She can only do so when we use a heavy attack, and also when she throws a special attack to place a debuff on us. Obviously, hitting into Photon's Mist will also trigger more of the pure light charges, but as long as you're not doing that without your heavy attack specifically, because you need to actually miss in order for that to qualify. Throw a special 2, trigger the critical shocks, place the passive tracking on Photon, and now it's just a matter of finishing off Photon with a couple of basic combos and the Relic, and Silver Sable handles that fight beautifully. Again, 52 seconds there, 100% health, 99, basically the same thing. Silver Sable is a great option for Photon, turns off a lot of the defensive mechanics and threats that Photon offers to the table. Let's show off Gladiator against Photon now. Gladiator doesn't specifically counter anything in Photon's defensive kit, but Gladiator has a lot of tools and buffs that allow him to push through some of Photon's defensive mechanics. So Gladiator starts each fight if you have him awakened with a Vigilance buff, which allows him to bypass miss, and allows you to ramp up Gladiator in the traditional way at the beginning of the fight, which makes it very, very easy to build up a lot of confidence charges very early. Throw my special 1 right before she enters pure light form. And now dash in during the special attack, deal as much damage as I possibly can, and do the same thing one more time. Dash in during the special. And it might not be the prettiest way to get Photon down, but as you all are probably very aware with Gladiator, he gets the job done pretty much no matter what. So 43 seconds for that fight. Gladiator, yeah, he's kind of a beast. That's probably another great video to make, how to effectively use Gladiator for the future. But that is all I have to show off with this how to use and fight Photon video. If you enjoyed this format of video, please let me know. I do like going through the character abilities and then talking about offense and defense, but if you all prefer to just see how the fights are done rather than learn all the abilities first and then come into the fights, then let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to see a bit of a combination of that, also let me know. I want to make these as informative as I possibly can. So thank you all very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider hitting that like button and also hitting subscribe. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, so I'd love to hit that goal sooner rather than later. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.